Chosen one, stop scrolling. This is about you. If your heart just skipped, if something inside you feels seen right now, it's because this is a God's message about your spiritual awakening, your hidden divine calling, and the undeniable power of divine timing moving in your life at this very moment. You did not click this by accident. Out of billions of distractions, you landed here. That is not coincidence. That is alignment. There is a reason your eyes are locked on these words. There is a reason your spirit feels alert. Something in you recognizes that this message is personal. This is not general motivation. This is activation. Nothing in your life has been random. Every delay that frustrated you, every door that closed without explanation, every relationship that ended abruptly was part of a larger orchestration you could not see at the time. You thought you were being rejected. In reality, you were being positioned. You thought you were lost. In truth, you were being led. This video is about why your life unfolded the way it did. It is about why the isolation happened, why the restlessness grew, why you always felt different. It is about the moment your spiritual awakening began and how your divine calling has been quietly activating beneath the surface. It is about understanding the role of divine timing and why nothing could have happened sooner. The questions you've been asking lately are not random thoughts. The inner stirring, the sense that something bigger is unfolding behind the scenes, the feeling that you are meant for more, those are signals. They are evidence that your awakening is accelerating. And once you see what is truly happening, you will never view your past the same way again. Stay with this until the end, because what you are about to understand will reframe every delay, every loss, and every silent season you endured. This is not just a message, it is confirmation, and deep down, you already know it was meant for you. Chosen one, you have always felt different. You feel deeper than most. You see through people's masks. You sense energy shifts before others notice anything at all. Crowded rooms exhaust you, but silence strengthens you. You have carried wisdom that didn't seem to match your age. That is not coincidence. That is design. That is divine alignment shaping a soul that was never meant to blend in. This God's message is not here to entertain you. It is here to awaken you further. Your spiritual awakening has been gradual, layered, sometimes painful, but it has been precise. Divine timing does not rush, and it does not forget. It unfolds when the chosen one is prepared, and you are more prepared than you realize. If something inside you feels seen right now, if your chest feels lighter or your spirit feels stirred, that is confirmation. Comment 777 if you feel aligned, because numbers have always found you at the right moments. They appear when you need reassurance. They appear when divine alignment is near. This is not superstition, it is awareness sharpened by spiritual awakening. I have guided many chosen ones through their awakening. I have watched confusion turn into clarity. I have seen fear transform into purpose. The pattern is always the same. First comes isolation, then comes questioning, then comes activation. And now for you, the activation phase is here. Your divine calling is not a distant dream. It is a present reality pressing against your hesitation. Listen carefully. You are not like everyone else, and you were never meant to be. The chosen one walks a narrow path. The chosen one carries light in environments that misunderstand it. The chosen one feels the weight of unseen battles. And yes, there is a war, a quiet spiritual war between distraction and purpose, between fear and faith, between darkness and the light you carry. This God's message is here to remind you that your light is necessary, not optional, necessary. Your spiritual awakening did not happen so you could shrink, it happened so you could stand. Divine timing brought you here because the next season of your life requires awareness, strength, and trust. Circle back to the beginning. This is not random. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the pull. You are called. The war is real, and your light is required in it. Your divine calling is bigger than your doubt. Your divine alignment is stronger than your fear. And divine timing has positioned you exactly where you need to be. If this touched your soul, if something inside you knows this truth without explanation, comment 111 because you know it. You were called. Why you always felt different. The mark of a chosen one. Chosen one. The reason you have always felt different is because you are different, not in a way that separates you from humanity, but in a way that sets your spirit on a distinct path. From an early age, you sensed that you did not quite fit into the environments around you. Even as a child, you observed more than you spoke. You questioned things others accepted without hesitation. You felt the weight of rooms, the mood of conversations, the unspoken tension behind smiles. That heightened awareness was not accidental. It was one of the earliest signs of your spiritual awakening, beginning quietly beneath the surface. You often felt isolated, even when surrounded by people. There was a subtle loneliness that followed you, not because you were unloved, but because you were misunderstood. The chosen one frequently walks through seasons where connection feels rare. You longed for depth, while others were comfortable with surface-level exchanges. You searched for meaning, while others chased distraction. That difference created distance, but that distance was not rejection. It was alignment shaping itself. Your sensitivity to energy has always been strong. You can sense when someone is genuine and when someone is pretending. You feel shifts in atmosphere instantly. Crowds can overwhelm you, yet solitude restores you. This sensitivity is not weakness. It is spiritual perception. It is part of the design of a chosen one. Through it, God's message has often reached you without words. A feeling, a nudge, a quiet conviction that something was not right or that something needed to change. Since childhood, there has been a deep inner knowing inside you. You may not have had language for it, but you felt it. You knew certain paths were not meant for you. You sensed that your life would not be ordinary. Even when you tried to blend in, something within you resisted. That resistance was your divine calling, whispering before you were ready to hear it clearly. Spiritual awakening does not always begin with a dramatic event. Sometimes it begins as a quiet awareness that you are here for more. There were periods of forced detachment in your life. Friendships ended suddenly. Relationships dissolved. Opportunities slipped away. You were removed from places you thought you would stay forever. At the time, it felt painful and confusing. You questioned yourself. You wondered what you did wrong. But detachment was not punishment. It was protection. It was alignment. A chosen one cannot remain in spaces that would dim their light. Separation had to happen before elevation could begin. Your struggles were preparation, not rejection. Every betrayal sharpened your discernment. Every disappointment strengthened your independence. Every season of isolation deepened your connection to your inner voice. God's message was never absent. It was being whispered through every challenge. When doors closed, it was redirection. When people walked away, it was clearing. When plans collapsed, it was restructuring. Spiritual awakening often begins through pain because pain breaks illusions. It removes false identities. It strips away attachments that no longer serve your growth. The discomfort you felt was the cracking of an old shell. Inside, your divine calling was expanding. A chosen one is rarely elevated before being separated. First comes detachment, then comes clarity, then comes alignment. Detachment refined you. It taught you not to cling to validation. It taught you to stand alone when necessary. It showed you that your worth does not depend on acceptance. In those lonely seasons, you discovered strength you did not know you possessed. That strength is evidence of your spiritual awakening, progressing exactly as it was meant to. You were never behind. You were being built. You were never overlooked. You were being positioned. Divine calling separates before it elevates, because purity of purpose requires space. You had to release environments that limited you so that alignment could occur. The chosen one cannot rise while entangled in what was meant to be temporary. Circle back to the beginning. This is not random. This is a message from God. The difference you feel is real. The isolation you experienced had purpose. The detachment you endured was protection. You are not imagining your spiritual awakening. You were called before you understood the call. The war around light and darkness is real, and your light is necessary within it. Your divine calling is not a fantasy, it is unfolding. If this touched your soul, if these words feel like they have always known you, comment 111 because you know it. You were called. The pain was initiation, not rejection. Chosen one, hear this clearly and let it settle into your spirit. You were not abandoned, you were being refined. What felt like rejection was initiation. What looked like loss was preparation. You thought doors were closing because you were unworthy, but in truth, they were closing because you were being redirected towards something aligned with your divine calling. There is a process known as spiritual pruning. Just as a tree must be cut back to grow stronger, you had to experience removal in order to expand. Branches that no longer produced fruit were trimmed away. People who could not grow with you were released. Opportunities that would have limited you were taken from your path. At the time, it felt harsh, it felt unfair, but pruning is not punishment, it is precision. You lost friends. Some drifted away quietly, others left suddenly, without explanation. Relationships you invested your heart into ended in confusion or betrayal. Plans you worked tirelessly for collapsed just when you thought they were about to succeed. Each loss felt personal. Each separation felt like evidence that you were somehow failing, but the truth is deeper than that. A chosen one cannot carry excess weight into destiny. Detachment had to occur. Those seasons of isolation were not random gaps in your life. They were sacred spaces. In isolation, distractions fade. In isolation, your inner voice becomes louder. You were pulled away from noise so you could hear the whisper of your spiritual awakening. Emotional breakdowns that once terrified you were actually breakthroughs in disguise. The tears, the sleepless nights, the moments when you questioned everything, those were the cracks through which light entered. Spiritual awakening often begins when the old identity collapses. You had to confront who you were pretending to be. You had to see where you were seeking validation. You had to acknowledge where fear was steering your decisions. Pain stripped away illusions. It exposed attachments. It forced detachment, not as loss but as liberation. Divine timing is rarely comfortable. You wanted things to happen sooner. You prayed for acceleration. You watched others move forward while you felt delayed. But divine timing does not respond to comparison. It responds to readiness. What seemed like delay was protection. What seemed like stagnation was development beneath the surface. Roots were growing deeper before the visible growth could begin. The law of attraction was working in your life even when you thought nothing was happening. But it was not responding to ego desire. It was responding to alignment. You asked for purpose, and life removed what blocked it. You asked for clarity, and confusion surfaced so it could be cleared. You asked for growth, and comfort was disrupted. The law of attraction does not simply deliver what you want, it rearranges you to match what you are meant for. Chosen one, pain activated your divine calling. It forced you to look inward. It taught you resilience. It sharpened your discernment. It deepened your compassion. Without those experiences, you would not carry the strength you now possess. You would not recognize misalignment so quickly. You would not sense truth so clearly. Spiritual awakening does not happen in ease. It happens in pressure. Detachment became your silent teacher. When people left, you learned to stand alone. When plans failed, you learned to adapt. When expectations shattered, you learned to release control. That release made room for something greater. Divine timing required space. Space required separation. Separation required courage. Circle back to the beginning. This is not random. This is a message from God. You were not imagining the pattern. The losses were not proof of failure. They were steps of refinement. You were not abandoned. You were being refined. The war between distraction and destiny is real, and you have felt it internally for years. But your light survived every dark season. Chosen one, Your spiritual awakening was triggered by pain because your soul was ready. Your divine calling required strength that comfort could never produce. Divine timing positioned every challenge exactly where it needed to be, and the law of attraction has been aligning you with what matches your highest self, not your temporary desires. If this touched your soul, if you can now see your past through a different lens, comment 101, because you know it, you were called. Detachment. The sacred shift that changed everything. Chosen one. There comes a moment in every spiritual awakening where everything shifts, and that shift is detachment, not coldness, not indifference, not pretending you do not care. True detachment is sovereignty. It is the ability to stand in your power without being controlled by outcomes, opinions, or emotional chaos. It is choosing peace over possession. It is strength without hardness. It is love without chains. Detachment is sacred because it frees your energy. When you were attached to validation, your mood rose and fell with other people's approval. When you were attached to toxic bonds, you tolerated what drained you. When you were attached to specific outcomes, anxiety ruled your thoughts. But the chosen one cannot walk fully into a divine calling while tied to unstable anchors. Mastery of detachment is not optional for you, it is essential. You had to learn to detach from validation. There was a time when you needed recognition to feel secure. You looked for reassurance that you were on the right path. But the deeper your spiritual awakening progressed, the more you realized that external approval fluctuates. Detachment from validation does not mean you stop caring, it means you stop depending. Your worth became internal, your direction became intuitive. That is sovereignty. Detachment from toxic bonds was even more painful. Some connections felt intense, magnetic, even destined, yet they carried confusion, imbalance, or emotional volatility. A chosen one often attracts people who sense their light, but do not know how to honor it. Without detachment, you would have remained entangled. With detachment, you reclaimed your energy. You chose alignment over attachment. That choice changed everything. Detachment from outcomes may have been the hardest lesson of all. You prayed for specific timelines. You imagined precise scenarios. You believed happiness depended on certain results. But divine timing rarely mirrors personal expectation. When you loosened your grip, clarity began to emerge. When you stopped forcing, life began flowing. Detachment does not cancel desire, it purifies it. It removes desperation and leaves intention. This is where the law of attraction transforms. Many misunderstand it as simple positive thinking, but for the chosen one, the law of attraction responds to alignment, not obsession. When you chase, you communicate lack. When you cling, you signal fear. When you detach, you signal trust. Trust aligns with divine timing, and divine timing aligns with your highest path. Detachment accelerates the law of attraction because it clears interference. Emotional turbulence distorts perception. Attachment clouds discernment. When you release control, your vibration stabilizes. Your choices become clearer. Your boundaries become stronger. You no longer attract from wounds, you attract from wholeness. That shift changes what enters your life. Your divine calling requires energetic purity. You cannot step into leadership, influence, or spiritual authority while entangled in unresolved attachments. Detachment purifies your motives. It reveals whether you seek impact or approval, service or validation. The chosen one must be internally steady, not perfect, but grounded, not rigid, but centered. Divine timing becomes clearer when attachment dissolves. Before, you tried to rush the process. You questioned why doors were not opening. You doubted whether you were being overlooked. But once detachment settled in, you began to see patterns differently. Delays became preparation. Silence became strategy. Waiting became refinement. Divine timing was not withholding, it was arranging. God's message often comes in silence, not in noise, not in urgency. Silence reveals what attachment hides. In quiet moments, you sensed direction without pressure. You felt nudges without fear. You recognized that your spiritual awakening was less about acquiring and more about releasing, less about gaining control and more about surrendering it. Circle back to the beginning. This is not random. This is a message from God. The lessons of detachment were not accidental hardships. They were sacred instructions. You are not imagining the shift inside you. You were called to walk differently. The war between fear and faith, between attachment and alignment, is real, and your light is necessary within it. Chosen one, detachment, did not make you distant. It made you powerful. It did not make you emotionless. It made you clear. The law of attraction is aligning you with what matches your elevated state. Your divine calling is unfolding through divine timing that cannot be rushed or delayed by human impatience. If this touched your soul, if you feel the truth of detachment settling into your spirit, comment 1-1, because you know it. You were called. Your spiritual awakening is not random. Chosen one. What has been happening to you is not random. The shifts in your thoughts, the changes in your emotions, the sudden waves of clarity that seem to arrive without warning are not accidents. Your spiritual awakening is unfolding exactly as it was designed to. What once confused you now begins to make sense. What once felt chaotic now reveals a pattern. This is not coincidence. This is activation. There were moments when clarity came suddenly. Ideas connected. Patterns became obvious. You started seeing through illusions that once convinced you. Conversations you once tolerated began to feel shallow. Environments you once accepted began to feel heavy. That sudden clarity was not arrogance. It was awareness. Spiritual awakening sharpens perception. It removes filters that once blurred your sight. Your intuition has increased. You no longer need long explanations to sense truth. You feel it immediately. A subtle tension in your body warns you. A quiet peace confirms direction. Before you ignored these signals, now they are louder. That is growth. A chosen one does not navigate life solely through logic. Intuition becomes a compass during spiritual awakening, guiding you beyond surface appearances. Your dreams may have become more vivid. Symbols, messages, faces, and emotions appear with unusual intensity. Sometimes you wake up with a feeling that lingers longer than the dream itself. These experiences are not random fragments of imagination. They are part of your subconscious aligning with deeper awareness. God's message often reaches you in forms that bypass distraction. You may have lost interest in habits that once defined you. Activities that once excited you now feel empty. Conversations that once entertained you now feel empty. Conversations that once entertained you now feel repetitive. This loss of interest is not depression, it is transformation. When spiritual awakening advances, old pleasures lose their grip because they no longer match your frequency. The collapse of interest is the beginning of redirection. Your discernment has heightened. You see manipulation more clearly. You recognize insincerity faster. You notice energy shifts instantly. This can feel overwhelming at times. You may wonder why you cannot simply ignore what you see. But heightened discernment is protection. A chosen one cannot afford to remain unaware. Awareness is armor. There is also a persistent feeling that you are called to something bigger. You may not fully understand what it is yet, but you sense it. A quiet conviction whispers that your life has purpose beyond routine. That whisper is your divine calling surfacing. Spiritual awakening is not merely self-improvement, it is activation. It is the unveiling of a role you were always meant to step into. As this unfolds, your old identity begins to collapse. You question beliefs you once held strongly. You reevaluate relationships. You redefine success. This collapse can feel disorienting. It may even feel like losing yourself. But in truth, you are shedding a version that no longer fits. Chosen ones awaken in layers. Each layer dissolves what is outdated and reveals what is authentic. You may notice synchronicities increasing. Certain phrases repeat. Songs play at precise moments. Conversations answer questions you were silently asking. Sometimes you see repeating numbers, like 777 appearing in unexpected places, reminding you that alignment is present. These signs are not there to control you. They are there to reassure you. They are subtle confirmations that divine timing is active. Spiritual awakening is the activation of divine calling. It prepares your mind, refines your perception, and strengthens your inner foundation. It does not happen all at once. It unfolds in layers according to divine timing. Each stage builds upon the last. Each realization prepares you for greater responsibility. Circle back to the beginning. This is not random. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the clarity, the intuition, the dreams, or the collapse of old identities. You were called. The war between distraction and purpose is real, and you feel it because you are meant to stand in light. Your awareness is necessary. Your growth is intentional. Your presence carries weight. Chosen one, your spiritual awakening is evidence that something sacred is moving through you. Divine timing has guided every shift. Your divine calling is unfolding with precision. The changes you fear are the very changes preparing you. If this touched your soul, if you recognize yourself in these words, comment 1-1 because you know it. You were called. The law of attraction works differently for the chosen one. Chosen one, you were taught that the law of attraction is about thinking positively and visualizing what you want until it appears, but your experience has shown you something deeper. The law of attraction is not a magic trick powered by surface-level optimism. It is a law of alignment. It responds to who you are being, not just what you are saying. And for a chosen one, it operates with even greater precision. You may have tried forcing outcomes before. You set intentions, repeated affirmations, pushed yourself to stay positive, and still things did not move the way you expected. That was not failure. That was refinement. The law of attraction was not ignoring you. It was aligning you. A chosen one does not manifest through force. You manifest through inner state. When your inner world shifts, your outer world follows. When you chase something from desperation, it delays. When you cling tightly out of fear, it resists. This is not punishment, it is feedback. The law of attraction mirrors your vibration. Chasing signals lack, fear signals doubt, attachment signals insecurity, but detachment signals trust, and trust aligns with divine timing. Detachment is not giving up. It is surrendering control without surrendering faith. When you detach, you are saying that you trust what is meant for you to arrive at the right moment. And that moment is governed by divine timing, not ego timing. Ego timing says now. Divine timing says when you are ready. Those two clocks rarely match. You once thought delays meant denial. You believed if something did not happen quickly, it was not meant for you. But divine timing overrides ego urgency. There were doors that did not open because you were not prepared to sustain what was behind them. There were connections that did not deepen because your vibration had not fully shifted. Delays were protection. They were preventing you from stepping into something misaligned. After your spiritual awakening began, your vibration changed. You became more aware of your thoughts. You became more conscious of your energy. You could feel when something was off. That awareness alone altered what you attracted. The law of attraction started responding differently because you were different. Your standards elevated. Your boundaries strengthened. Your intuition sharpened. A chosen one cannot attract what no longer matches their frequency. That is why certain people drifted away without conflict. That is why some opportunities dissolved quietly. Your divine calling requires alignment, not compromise. As your spiritual awakening progressed, misaligned energies became uncomfortable. You could no longer pretend. You could no longer shrink. And because of that, the law of attraction began filtering your environment. Divine calling attracts aligned people and repels misaligned ones. This is not rejection. It is calibration. When your energy stabilizes in authenticity, anything incompatible cannot remain for long. You may have noticed that after you chose detachment, situations resolved themselves. After you stopped forcing, clarity arrived. After you released expectations, opportunities appeared unexpectedly. That is flow. Flow is the result of trust. Trust is the result of alignment. Alignment is the result of spiritual awakening. And all of it operates under divine timing. The law of attraction is not here to serve impatience. It is here to serve purpose. As a chosen one, your manifestations are tied to your growth. You do not simply receive what you ask for, you receive what matches who you have become. Circle back to the beginning. This is not random. This is a message from God. The patterns you have observed in your life are not coincidences. When things delayed, it was divine timing. When detachment felt necessary, it was protection. When your vibration shifted after spiritual awakening, it was preparation. You are not imagining this difference. You were called to operate at a different frequency. The war between force and faith is real, between ego timing and divine timing, between attachment and alignment, and your light is necessary because you have chosen alignment. Chosen one. The law of attraction responds to your authenticity. Your divine calling is unfolding, not through pressure, but through precision. If this touched your soul, if you recognize the truth in your own journey, comment 111, because you know it. You were called. Divine timing, why it had to happen this way. Chosen one. The hardest lesson for you was never faith. It was patience. You could believe in purpose, you could sense your divine calling, but waiting tested you. Watching others move ahead while you felt paused stretched your confidence. Yet what you interpreted as delay was positioning. Divine timing was not slowing you down, it was arranging you. You were being positioned in ways you could not see. While you questioned the silence, foundations were forming. While you doubted your progress, internal strength was building. Divine timing operates beneath the surface long before results become visible. Just because you could not measure movement does not mean movement was not happening. Certain people had to exit first. Some relationships were comfortable but limiting. Some connections felt meaningful but were distractions from your greater path. If they had remained, your focus would have fractured, your growth would have been delayed. A chosen one cannot fully rise while entangled in what was meant to be temporary. Separation was not cruelty, it was calibration. Skills had to develop quietly. You needed experience, you needed discernment, you needed emotional maturity. Had your divine calling activated earlier, you would have lacked the stability to sustain it. Divine timing waits for readiness. It does not reward impatience. It aligns preparation with opportunity. Confidence had to grow from within, rather than from applause. If doors had opened too soon, you might have relied on external validation to stay steady. Instead, you were taught to stand alone. You were taught to trust your intuition. You were taught to move without constant reassurance. That inner confidence is what will anchor you when your divine calling expands. Healing had to complete its deeper layers. You carried wounds you did not initially recognize, patterns you unconsciously repeated, fears that influenced decisions. Divine timing allowed those wounds to surface and close properly. Rushing into your next level without healing would have recreated the same cycles in a different environment. You were spared from that repetition. Divine calling activates when readiness meets divine timing. It is not enough to want purpose. You must embody it. You must be stable enough to hold it. You must be clear enough to protect it. Divine timing ensures that when activation happens, it is sustainable, not temporary, not fragile, but rooted. God's message always arrives at the appointed hour, not early, not late, exactly when your awareness can receive it fully. Even this moment is proof. You are hearing what you could not have understood years ago. You are recognizing patterns that once felt confusing. That clarity is evidence that divine timing is precise. Trust the unseen orchestration. There were conversations happening beyond your perception, alignments forming without your involvement, protection operating without announcement. The chosen one is guided in ways that are subtle but powerful. Divine timing coordinates what human planning cannot. Circle back to the beginning. This is not random. This is a message from God. The waiting was not wasted. The exits were not accidents. The silence was not absence. You were being positioned. You were being refined. You were being prepared. You are not imagining the call that has followed you. You were called. The war between doubt and destiny is real, between rushing and trusting, between ego urgency and divine timing. But your light is necessary in this world, and it required careful placement. Chosen one, your divine calling unfolds exactly when you are ready to carry it. If this touched your soul, if patience now feels purposeful instead of painful, comment 1111, because you know it. You were called. Your divine calling is bigger than you think. Chosen one, your divine calling is not small, and it is not limited to what you currently imagine. You may think it is about a career shift, a creative project, or a new opportunity, but it is deeper than that. Your presence changes environments. Your awareness shifts conversations. Your energy influences people without you trying. That is not ordinary. That is purpose in motion. Chosen ones influence through presence before they influence through position. You do not need a title to lead. You do not need applause to matter. When you enter a room, something adjusts. When you speak truth calmly, others reflect. When you choose integrity, it exposes illusion. This is leadership without ego, quiet, steady, undeniable. You are meant to awaken others, not by preaching at them, but by embodying what awakening looks like. Your spiritual awakening was never just for you. It refined your perception so you could guide through example. It strengthened your boundaries so you could demonstrate self-respect. It deepened your compassion so you could understand struggle without judgment. Your growth became a blueprint. Your story is medicine. The pain you survived gives credibility to your voice. The detachment you mastered gives stability to your presence. The confusion you once navigated gives clarity to those still lost in it. Nothing you endured was wasted. Every challenge added depth to your influence. When you share honestly, others feel permission to heal. Spiritual awakening prepared you for visibility, even if you still hesitate to step into it. You learn to sit with discomfort. You learn to question your own patterns. You learn to trust intuition over noise. Those lessons built inner strength. Without that foundation, expansion would feel overwhelming. With it, growth becomes sustainable. Detachment purified your motives. You no longer seek recognition as proof of worth. You no longer chase approval to validate decisions. You stand in authenticity because it feels right, not because it looks impressive. That purity protects your divine calling. When motives are clean, impact multiplies. The law of attraction has been aligning resources quietly. Conversations are shifting. Doors are appearing. Ideas are forming. You may not see the full picture yet, but alignment is increasing. As your vibration stabilized through spiritual awakening, you began attracting what matches your elevated state. Opportunities that once felt distant now feel closer. Connections that once seemed unlikely now feel natural. Divine timing is moving pieces now. What felt stagnant before is beginning to shift. People you have not met yet are being prepared to intersect with you. Platforms you have not stepped onto yet are forming. Confidence you once questioned is strengthening. The timing is no longer about preparation alone. It is about activation. Affirm this within yourself. I am ready to rise without shrinking. I am ready to lead without ego. I am ready to serve through authenticity. I am ready to trust divine timing. I am ready to honor my divine calling. These are not empty words. They are declarations that align your inner state with your outer movement. Circle back to the beginning. This is not random. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the expansion you feel. You are called to influence, to guide, to illuminate. The war between fear and faith is real, and your light is necessary in it. Chosen one, your divine calling is larger than your hesitation. If this touched your soul, if you feel the weight and the promise of your purpose, comment 111, because you know it, you were called. Final activation. Step into it now. Chosen one, it is time, not tomorrow, not when you feel completely fearless, not when every doubt disappears. Now, the season of preparation has shaped you. The seasons of isolation refined you. The moments of detachment strengthened you. And divine timing has brought you to this exact point with intention. Stop shrinking to make others comfortable. Stop doubting the very awareness that carried you through your darkest seasons. You have questioned yourself enough. You have replayed past mistakes enough. You have waited for permission long enough. This is your activation moment. Trust divine timing. It has never failed you, even when you misunderstood it. What delayed you protected you. What ended redirected you. What confused you, refined you. You are standing here now because divine timing does not miss. It orchestrates, it positions, it prepares, and now it activates. Honor your spiritual awakening. Do not downplay it. Do not dismiss it as imagination. You have changed. Your perception has sharpened. Your standards have risen. Your discernment has strengthened. That is growth. That is elevation. A chosen one does not awaken by accident. Awakening is invitation. Awakening is assignment. Walk in your divine calling even before you see the full map. Clarity comes through movement. Confidence grows through action. Your divine calling is not waiting for you to feel ready. It is waiting for you to say yes. Leadership without ego. Service without self-betrayal. Impact without fear. This is your next level. Use detachment wisely. Do not reattach to environments that dim you. Do not cling to outcomes that create anxiety. Hold your vision firmly but lightly. Trust that what aligns will stay. Trust that what leaves was never meant to remain. Detachment keeps your energy clean. It keeps your path clear. Align consciously with the law of attraction, not through force, but through embodiment. Become what you are asking for. Stand in integrity. Speak with intention. Move with awareness. The law of attraction responds to your state, not your slogans. As your vibration stabilizes in truth, alignment accelerates. Remember that this God's message reached you intentionally. Out of countless voices and countless distractions, you found this, or perhaps it found you. That is not random. That is alignment. That is divine timing intersecting with readiness. You were meant to hear this now. Circle back to the beginning. This is a message from God. You are not imagining the call that has followed you for years. You are not exaggerating the internal war you have felt between fear and faith. The war is real, and your light is necessary within it. Darkness does not resist what is insignificant. It resists what carries power. Chosen one, you carry power. Not loud, reckless power, but steady, transformative power. The kind that shifts rooms, the kind that awakens minds, the kind that inspires courage without demanding attention. Your presence matters, your voice matters, your obedience to your divine calling matters. This is your moment to step fully into it. No more hesitation, no more shrinking, no more pretending you do not feel the fire inside your chest. It is there because you were called. If you receive this activation, if you feel the confirmation in your spirit, comment 7-7-7. Let it be your declaration that you are ready to walk forward. And if this touched your soul in a way you cannot explain, comment 1-1-1. Because you know it, you were called.